there, my friend, and welcome to the study. Let's look at a map of Roman Britain, and I will tell you the story of the second Legion Augusta that was commanded by the future Emperor Vespasian on the Claudian conquest of Britannia. Julius Caesar had been to Britannia in 55 and 54 BC, but it was not until the Emperor Claudius in 41 AD ordered a British invasion that the Romans really occupied Britannia. North of the Thames were the Catuellani tribe, and the Cantiaci, the Regni, Atrebates, Belgae, Silures, and the Durodriguez tribes. We have Tacitus in his Agricola and bits of text from Cassius Dio that tell us about this Claudian invasion. Thanks to Pliny and Cicero, who built upon what they had read in earlier texts. Britain was seen as some mysterious, legendary place to the north, despite the trade that was taking place across the Channel and from Cornwall. Claudius had ships assembled on the Norman coast, the coast of France. His forces would be led by Aulus Plautius, with approximately 40,000 strong. Such was the reputation of Britons that, legend has it, the soldiers were afraid to board the ships, and Claudius asked the freedman Narcissus, who boarded the ship, and all the soldiers followed him, loath to let a freed slave show them up. They landed in about 3 waves, but it is not certain where they landed. There are several places along England's southeast coast that present possible landing sites. some of the oldest Roman sites in Britain, Rutubii being among them. Roman ships were built for beaching, as they did in much of the Mediterranean, which meant they had a difficult time in the tidal waters of the channel, but at low tide they would have had an easy time in certain harbors. Several cohorts from several legions are said to have participated in this Claudian invasion of Britannia. There was the 20th Valeria Victrix that crossed the Menai into present-day Wales and destroyed the Druids' sacred groves at Mons. There was the 14th Gemina that made Exeter their base and had the famous battle of Watling Street against Boudica. There was the 9th Hispana that went north to Eboracum, now York. And there was possibly the 8th Augusta, with several vexillations or detachments of these, so it's not certain if the entire legion would have been involved. The one we're going to follow is the 2nd Augustan Legion, led by Vespasian. The legions in the east around what would become Londinium were led by Aulus Plautius himself, who defeated the Briton Caraticus, who himself was sent to Rome as a prisoner. Along with Togodumnus and other insurgents. After that, the other tribes capitulated and were defeated. The Britons fled across the Medway and the Thames to the north. Where Plautius waited for Claudius, who arrived with elephants and entered the capital at Colchester. Just to the north. The Legio II Augusta had about 24,000 men and an equal number of auxiliaries. Vespasian led this legion across southern Britain. He defeated the Breton tribes in 30 battles, capturing the Second Legion made its first garrison at Togodumnus, or what is now Exeter. From there was the Fosse Way, the Roman road leading up to Lincoln, Bathurst, Stratford upon Avon. This road still exists in parts today, if not entirely Roman, and stretches from Exeter to Lincoln. The other capitals of the Second Augustan were the Welsh towns of Isca, Silures, or Caerleon, and Venta Silurum, or today known as Caerwent. In fact, Isca Silurum was occupied by the Second Augusta for so long that sometimes it is referred to as Isca Augusta. We're going to be going into a bit of detail about the Second Augustan and their camps, or their permanent places. I will start by reading you a little bit of Roman Roads in Britain by Thomas Codrington, published in 1903 and taken mainly from the Antonine Itinerary. Chapter 10, Roman Roads from London, Silchester to the west. There's Londinium. Silchester is here, Caleva Atrebatum, and the walls still stand today around the city, or what was once the Roman city of Caleva Atrebatum. Going west, we come to Aquae Sulis, modern-day Bath, and then we would have to go north to cross the Severn. At 6 miles from Bath is Bitton, where there are traces of a Roman camp and evidences of a station, but only an insignificant stream. The course of the road from Bath westward has been the subject of much difference of opinion. Easter 9 of Antonine's Itinerary gives the distances of the stations, beginning from Aquae Sulis. On the Welsh side of the Severn, a landing place may have existed near the Roman camp at Sudbrook. Just there, of which now only half remains on the cliff near the Severn Tunnel pumping station. The Roman station at Venta Silurum at Caerwent measures about 530 yards from east to west and 450 yards from north to south. The road runs through the middle lengthways and on straight for upwards of a mile, followed by 3/4 of a mile, parish boundary to 5 lanes, where there were vestiges of a causeway as late as 1801. Silchester, or Caleva Atterbottom, to Bath or Aquaesulus, and up to the two Roman stations, and on from Caerwent to Caerleon and the Roman roads. Wales was always a difficult place for the Romans to occupy, so it was mainly military rather than residential. However, the relations between the Silures and the Romans did warm after some time. Exeter in Devon was the tribal capital of the Dumnoni tribe and the legionary fortress of the Legio II Augusta. It was at the southern end of the Bosway, the Roman road running north-south on the western side of Britannia. Called Isca Dumnoniorum, in a passage from Ptolemy's Geography of the 2nd century, due to the presence of the Dumnoni tribe. They occupied the area that was then contained within the modern counties of Devon and Cornwall in the extreme southwestern part of England. The neighbouring tribe in Somerset and Dorset were the Rodrigues. This city is located at the southwestern terminus of the Fosse Way, at the head of the Exe estuary in Devon, and has been permanently occupied for almost 2,000 years. The first Roman military building to be so identified was the Principia, or regimental headquarters, of the Neronian legionary fortress built in AD 55 to 60. Around AD 75, work on the town's forum and basilica had begun on the site of the former Principia, and by the late 2nd century the town walls were built, 10 feet thick and 20 feet high, enclosing the same area as the earlier fortress. The town was in decline by the late 4th century, but one of the major public buildings continued to be occupied well into the 7th, and it is known that a colony of Britons who lived together in a quarter of the old town were expelled by the Saxon king Augustan in the 10th century. The Second Augustan Legion, or the Legio II Augusta, has a somewhat uncertain history and may be identified with the Seconda Sabina reported in an inscription of a Civil War veteran at Venafrum or Venafro. It may also be identifiable with the Seconda Gallica, the veterans of which received land at Arausio or Orange in 36 to 35 BC, and are there commemorated on the Augustan Arch. At the Battle of Mutina on the 14th of March, 43 BC, Marcus Antonius' 2 legions, Secunda and the 25th, were caught in a pincer movement between the consular armies of Gaius Vibius Pansa, who was encamped at the Forum Gallorum, and Aulus Hirtius, whose 2 legions, the 4th and 7th, fell upon their rear. Both legions were smashed, and the survivors put to flight. This story is from a letter from Sulpicius Galba, a legate in the army of Hirtius and ancestor to the future emperor, in his letter to Cicero. In 27 BC, the Senate granted Octavian unprecedented civil and military powers, and bestowed on him the title Augustus. Following this, one of his first thoughts was the composition of his army. His army had been in disarray since the civil wars previously with the triumvirates and the one with Sulla. Augustus substantially reformed the legions by disbanding those whose previous loyalties had brought them under suspicion, and created colonies for the veteran soldiers. He also formed new legions that would be loyal to him only. The 3 imperial legions, 2nd, 3rd, and 8th, which are all entitled Augusta, specifically identify them as formations during his principate. In 25 BC, Augustus turned his attention to Spain and launched a series of lengthy campaigns against the tribes of the Iberian Peninsula, notably the Cantabrians and Asturians. These campaigns were to continue until 13 BC. 7 legions are known to have taken part: 1st, 2nd, Augusta, 4th Macedonica, and 5th Alaudae, 6th Victrix, 9th Hispana, and 10 Gemina. The 5th and 10th were formerly Antonian legions, but had been transferred to the west after the Battle of Actium, and some were perhaps brought by Augustus himself from Gaul. Of the total of 7 legions sent to Spain by Augustus, only 4 survived. The 2nd Augusta was one of them, the others being the 4th Macedonian, the 6th Victrix, and the 10th Gemina. Following the disaster of the loss of legions by Varus in the Teutoburger forest in Germany in AD 9, the 2nd Augustan was transferred by Augustus from their lost fortress in Spain to Argentoratum, or Strasbourg, in the Alsace region of northeastern France, close to the border with modern-day Germany. There they continued to garrison the fortress until the rule of Claudius, when they were withdrawn for use in the invasion of Britain. The Seconda Augusta was present as part of Aulus Plautius' invasion force of 43 AD, during which it was placed under the command of this young legionary legate Titus Flavius Vespasianus, later Emperor Vespasian. The legion was split into smaller detachments or vexillations, vexillationes, and stationed in small campaign fortresses at Chichester in West Sussex and at Park Farm near Corfmullen in Dorset, possibly also a number of other forts throughout the southwest Britain, until AD 48, when the legionary fortress at Togodumnus, or Exeter, was finally constructed. The legionary force in Britain underwent a shuffle during the governorship of Marcus Trebellius Maximus in about AD 67. Following the withdrawal of the Legion 14 Gemina to the continent by Nero, the 2nd Augusta was moved from Isca or Exeter to Glewum, which is today Gloucester, near the mouth of the Severn. There it replaced the Legio XX Valeria Victrix, who were themselves moved to Viroconium or Wroxeter in Shropshire, in the Welsh Marches, recently been evacuated by the 14th Gemina by Nero. The legion was moved from Gloucester to a new fortress more strategically located at Isca Silurum or Caerleon in South Wales. The legion remained in reserve at Caerleon throughout Agricola's governorship from 78 to 84 AD, but was apparently active during the construction of the Staingate military highway, with detachments being stationed on the Tyne at Corbridge in Northumberland. The Seconda Augusta also took part in the building of Hadrian's Wall at certain spots, and also the construction of the Antonine Wall between AD 139 and 142. There were temporary camps that the Augusta used when they joined other legions for work. The legionary standard is the Capricorn, meaning that the legion was formed by the first emperor, Augustus. Capricorn was his own birth sign, and he considered it lucky. The Seconda Augusta has also used the Pegasus, although its meaning is unknown, and occasionally Mars. Documentary evidence for the Legio II Augusta in Britain include Ptolemy's Geography, in which he writes, "Next to these tribes, but more to the west, are the Dumnoni, whose towns are Isca, where is located the Legio II Augusta." The Antonine itinerary, which we have seen, also mentions the Secunda Augusta in Iter 12, idem amuriduno viroconium. Isca Legio Secunda Augusta, Route 12, the route from Moedunum to Viroconium, 186,000 paces. Isca Silurum and the Second Augustan Legion, 27 miles from Bomium, near Bridgend today. In the 4th to 5th century Notitia Dignitatum, the Secunda is also mentioned, chapter 28, at the disposal of the respectable man, the Count of the Saxon Shore in Britain, the prefect of the Second Augustan Legion at Rutupiae, or Portus Rutupis, in Kent. There remains much epigraphic evidence on stone for the presence of this legion in Britain, not only in Isca Dumnoniorum, but at Glevum, Isca Salorum, Corbridge, Staingate, the Hadrianic frontier, the Antonine frontier, London, Bath, Castelcolin, Chester, Ilkley, Watercock, Maryport, and on and on. If these map sounds have made you nice and sleepy, have a good rest. If you're interested in the Legio II Augusta and some of the places I've mentioned,